In those days, long before the world learned to hurry, people still listened to the quiet spaces between their own thoughts, back when the nights were not yet wounded by screens, and the moon still had the power to summon entire towns into stillness. Human beings carried their worries differently. They walked slower. They breathed a little deeper, yet even then the struggle to stay true to one's intentions was no gentler than it is today. And though the world has changed, though our days are now crowded with notifications, deadlines, and the constant hum of expectation, the human heart has not. We still make vows to ourselves. We still hope to live with clarity, with discipline, with a sense of inner steadiness, and like the people of those ancient towns, we still find it painfully easy to wander away from the promises we make. It was on a full moon day such as this, a night that wrapped the land in quiet silver, the Thingazar Sayador gathered a great crowd in the town of Malmine. The air was soft, the moon hung low, as if listening, and the people, young and old, stood before the venerable monk to receive the 8 precepts. Among them were young clerks who had never stepped deeply into the monastic teachings. Their eyes were bright, yet uncertain. And the Sayador, seeing the tremble of inexperience in them, firmly, in the way only a seasoned teacher could. "Laymen," he said, "ponder carefully the vows you have taken." His voice carried like a slow bell across the gathering. He compared them to young herdsmen, some careful, watching their cattle hour by hour, some careless, noticing nothing, and some so callous that they let everything wander astray. The lesson fell into the crowd like a stone into still water, and then almost like a breeze passing through the assembly. He mentioned one man had broken his vows before the dawn, a man known to everyone, a man whose story, on this night of quiet reflection, was about to unfold. The head clerk of a district court in Lower Burma was a man of energy, broad-shouldered in spirit, hearty in his work, and just as hearty at the dining table. His wife, gentle and devout, kept every Sabbath with unwavering discipline, but he was always too busy, too entangled in duties, too drawn to the comfort of regular meals, to consider a day of fasting. Yet something stirred in the town that season, a revival of faith. People gathered to sweep pagoda platforms, to pour water over sacred stones, to discuss teachings under the soft glow of evening lamps. Families kept the Sabbath with renewed sincerity. The junior clerks embraced this movement with enthusiasm. They begged the head clerk to join them, but he brushed them off with polite forcefulness. Religion, he felt, was for quieter people, less burdened by the weight of responsibility, and less attached to their food. But on a certain full moon day, the district office grew strangely empty. One by one his clerks departed, not for leisure, not out of defiance, but for the monastery. Until he, the leader of the workplace, was the only man left behind. A young junior clerk, humble earnest, approached him with unexpected courage. "Sir," he said, "you are our leader in our daily work. Why not be our leader in our religious work also?" The words struck him, not painfully, but honestly. And so, embarrassed, yet unable to resist the weight of expectation, he rose from his desk and walked with them to the monastery. His wife came too, grateful, hopeful. There, under the gentle watch of the Sayador, they received the 8 precepts. They spent the day telling beads, murmuring scripture, letting the hours drift like incense smoke. The head clerk kept a serious face, but as the afternoon deepened, hunger began to bloom within him like a slow fire. His struggle, quiet, human, and all too familiar, had only just begun. When nightfall arrived, the quiet ritual of the day drifted gently to an end. One by one, the Sabbath keepers left the monastery and walked home through the soft moonlight. Their hearts were calm, their minds steady, their footsteps lightened by the devotion they had carried through the day. The head clerk walked among them too, outwardly composed, inwardly wrestling with a hunger that had now become a constant drum within him. His wife, serene and devoted as always, continued her recitations, even as they entered their home. But he could think only of food, of the comfort of a meal waiting on a table. The moment the door closed behind them, he could bear it no longer. "Mistress of my household," he said, his voice tight with longing, "please, stop your recitation for a moment. Set the table for my dinner." His wife looked at him gently, almost with sorrow, and spoke the truth that he already feared. "Master of the house, have you forgotten? We have been away at the monastery the whole day. No dinner has been cooked." He paused. His hunger tightened. "But surely," he pleaded, "there must be something left from this morning's breakfast." "There is only some rice," she replied softly. "But why eat it now? You have come this far. Only the night remains. At dawn, I shall prepare a beautiful meal for you, to break your fast with joy." Her voice was calm, but his hunger pressed against his ribs like a beggar knocking at a locked door. He said nothing. He simply lay down, closed his eyes, and tried to sleep, willing the night to pass quickly. But hunger has a way of whispering in the dark, and sleep does not always obey the mind. Hours later, deep into the stillness of the night, the head clerk awoke, his stomach twisted in pain, sharp, urgent, impossible to ignore. The long night had only begun. The head clerk nudged his wife awake, desperation overtaking his dignity. "Get up," he whispered harshly. "Cook my breakfast. I cannot endure this any longer." She rose slowly, gathering her composure before her words. "It is still 4 hours until dawn," she reminded him gently. "Be patient. Think of the merit you will gain, and think also of the laughter and jeers you will face tomorrow. Your clerks discover that you failed to keep your vows." Her voice was not scolding, only steady. A lantern tried to hold its glow in a storm. "Husband, you are not a child," she continued softly. "You are the head clerk of the district court, a man trusted with responsibility." But he shook his head. Hunger had softened his resolve. "Why should my clerks know?" he argued. "What I do at home is my own affair. I should never have let them persuade me to take those vows." His wife folded her hands in quiet patience. "Even as we speak," she said, "time is passing. The golden dawn draws near. This is your first Sabbath. Think of the happiness that awaits you when you fulfill it." But he did not want happiness. He wanted food. "I do not desire merit," he snapped, "and happiness. I had plenty before I took those vows." "Stop your sermon now," she only whispered. "Courage. The night cannot last forever." For a moment there was silence, a long, heavy silence. Then, like a man whose endurance had crumbled beneath him, he rose abruptly. "This night," he cried, "will last until the end of the universe." He rushed into the kitchen. No hesitation, no ceremony, only the raw urgency of hunger. He plunged his hand into the rice pot, scooping up the stale, cold grains, eating them with a relief so deep it almost sounded like gratitude. And there, beneath the full moon that had witnessed his vow, the head clerk broke it. Quietly. The kitchen was dim, touched only by the faint spill of moonlight slipping through the window. In that quiet glow, the head clerk stood hunched over the rice pot, breathing hard between hurried mouthfuls. Each handful of cold grains brought him a strange mix of relief and defeat, a satisfaction of the body, and yet a quiet, undeniable awareness of what he had just undone. His wife stood at a distance, saying nothing. She did not scold him. She did not sigh. She simply watched him with a calm that seemed older than the night itself. She had known this might happen, not because he was weak, but because every human heart struggles in its first attempts at discipline, like a young tree, learning to bend with the wind. He was still learning how to lean into restraint. The house was silent except for the soft sound of his chewing, the only noise in an otherwise sleeping world. Outside, the town lay still, under the full moon. The same moon that had blessed his vow earlier, now watched his quiet surrender. He did not stop until the last grain was gone. Only then did he step back, breathing deeply, the tension in his body slowly unwinding. But something else began to settle in, a heaviness that had nothing to do with food. He wiped his hands, avoiding his wife's gaze, reluctant to see the reflection of his own weakness in her eyes. But when he finally looked, he found no judgment there, only a soft, tired compassion. A compassion that understood the complex pathways of human intention and human hunger. He turned away, letting the silence wrap around them both. The rest of the night drifted by slow and colorless, as if waiting patiently for the moment when dawn would finally touch the rooftops and reveal what remained of the vow he had struggled to keep. When dawn finally arrived, gentle, pale, unhurried, it found the head clerk sitting in silence. The hunger that had tormented him had eased, replaced by a quieter, more lingering ache. Not of the body. The sunlight spilled softly across the floor, illuminating the simple home where the struggle had played out. His wife began her morning tasks. Without a word of reproach, she moved with the same steady devotion she carried into every Sabbath, as if the events of the night were simply another step on the long road of human effort. He watched her for a moment, feeling the weight of his own choices settle deeper. He had broken the vow. He had surrendered before dawn. And yet, here was the morning, kind and without anger. The world had not collapsed. His life had not unraveled. But something inside him had shifted, gently and quietly, like a leaf turning on the wind. The story ends there, not with punishment, not with triumph, but with a soft reminder that discipline is a path walked slowly, imperfectly, one honest step at a time. Some learn quickly, some learn painfully, and some learn through a midnight hunger that proves stronger than resolve. But all who walk the path learn. And now, as the final words settle like dust in morning light, let this gentle closing rest with you. If this story touched something quiet inside you, if it reminded you of your own vows, your own struggles, the promises you try to keep in a world full of distractions, then let this place be a small refuge for your spirit, a place you return to when you need calm, a place where stories breathe softly, a place where you are reminded that growth does not require perfection, only sincerity. If you felt that softness, then subscribe, like, and share this story in the same peaceful way you would pass on a candle flame, gently, without force, simply allowing its light to travel farther. And if you have reflections of your own, let them flow in the comments below. This is a quiet space. Your voice is welcome here.